Fashamaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome to the 399th installment of the Geo Gearheads. I'm Daryl W4, back as usual with my co-host, Chris of the Northwest.
Well, hello there. Oh, it's so good to be back, Daryl. I love doing this show with you each and every week. It's a lot of fun.
I do too, and can you believe this is going to be next week, number 400?
No, I mean, you know, we've been counting down to 400, but it seems like it still should be weeks away. And yet here it is. We're at 399. So in my math, we can't get any closer without hitting 400.
Well, we could do a midweek show this week and have our point show.
Oh, that's
which
right.
We haven't done those in a long time. We've got to start getting up and doing those in the middle of the week again. We've been doing those for our patrons.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to do that again.
Yeah, well, we can, just not this week. This is one of my busiest weeks of the year.
I was going to say it's going to be at least I think October before we're going to be able to get into it again, but we're hoping for it.
Yeah. So yeah, we love you. We want to be able to just sit and chat with you. It really is fun for us.
It absolutely, and we get some good ideas out of those shows and a lot of good conversations.
You know, Limax wants to know if 399 is the airspeed of the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow.
Which people probably wouldn't quite get the humor if they weren't watching and notice the shirt that I'm wearing.
Oh, I didn't even notice the shirt you were wearing.
But today we're going to be talking about logging. Specifically, we wanted to get into some of the aspects of rich logging. But Happy Hodak had a interesting comment in the live chat. Do you want to go ahead and read that one?
It says, "This is reminding me I need to log my one find from today."
So, we're apparently issuing reminders with our show.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And good job going out and getting your daily find.
Yeah, Wet Coaster already logged his find for the day, so he's not going to be able to use any of this stuff. So but at least Happy Hodak might be able to.
Oh, there you go. Does that mean you guys are doing a daily streak, or is it you just happen to go out and find one today and haven't logged it yet?
I'm not sure that we want to do that kind of stuff. But in any case, let's actually start getting into the content for tonight. And a word of warning, this is going to be a lot of kind of like heavier, harder to describe material. So a lot of it is going to be visual. And we're going to get into a lot of terminology for, what we're talking about a little bit. But we're going to start off with a quick and easy way to do tagging of your fellow players from the web. And this is something that only was rolled out back in June of 2017. So I remember coming out, we talked about it on the show, which makes me feel really old since this was like when the show was actually mature already. It's that long ago.
But wait. If it was mature then, what is it now?
I think we're into the old fogey getting ready for the retirement home mode.
I just sit in my rocking chair there, Sonny.
We're at 400.
Yeah.
Isn't that like, 80 in podcast years?
Oh, I was going to go with dog years, but I hadn't thought podcast years. Yeah, that's got to be something.
But in any case, when you're logging on the web, there was a feature that they added back in June of doing the @ symbol for your logging. So it is pretty easy. And this is going to be our first of the illustrations. So if you go to your log on the website, you type the @ symbol, start typing the name, and you'll get the pop-up for your friends that show up as options. And there is a catch that just came up, and it applies to some of the other services. And we talked about it on one of the shows previously with Cashly, I believe it was. has to have, or maybe it was a Geo Live, has to have this flag enabled to allow people to use or to reference you through the APIs. But you pop it up, you just select it and continue logging, and you'll get a like green highlight behind it, which indicates that it's going to be a link. And when it actually saves to the log, you'll get the markdown code for the link. But that's all it's doing. This is all just a shortcut to do the markdown code, which is what we're going to talk about next. Before we do that, though, Chris, why don't I make you talk about the terminology we're going to use?
So, as we're talking, there are certain symbols we need to use in our logs to begin this markdown code, and they're referred to by a bunch of different names. In fact, Daryl, you just mentioned using the @ symbol or the not ampersand, A with the circle around it. I can't come up with the official name of it.
I can't either, and I took typography, so
Yeah. Anyway,
don't feel bad.
so the @ symbol is what you use to begin calling out the names of your geocaching friends, and again, they have to be in your friends list. But we're also going to use square brackets. So if you look at your keyboard, you'll have curly brackets and square brackets on the same key. Square brackets are the bottom one, curly brackets on top. We're also going to use the asterisk or the star. So you have to know that one. And we're going to use, I think we'll call it the hashtag, Daryl, or do you want to call it the pound sign?
Let's call it the hashtag, because I think that's what most people tend to call it.
Or the octothorpe.
And did you mention the parentheses?
Oh, and the parentheses, of course.
Yes. We're going to be using those only a little bit, though, tonight.
So, there's a lot of different names for these symbols. So we just kind of wanted to get that out in the open to begin with. And Daryl, maybe we should put some of these in the chat as we go along so that if people are watching the video, they can follow along and see what it looks like.
Well, we have those overlays, and this is going to be a little bit of a test as well to see how well this is going to go. It's going to be a good show to watch, because we have all of these cool visuals that we're going to throw up that tell you how to do the various things. So why don't we get started? But first, we have to mention that previously in the logs, geocaching.com used to support HTML or UBB code. And the interesting thing is you will find some of those logs still on caches and on travel bugs that were not converted and have what looks like weird code in it, and that's because it is weird code. Back in February of 2016, they did the switch to supporting just the Markdown language, nothing else. So it got rid of things like the color in the logs, and it got rid of size. So a lot of people were not terribly happy about that, because they liked doing that and driving other cachers nuts with funky logs that didn't render right, because it was dependent very much on what your device was.
Exactly. So if you're looking at older logs and you're looking and go, well, why did they put all this in? That's because it used to render properly on the website before they changed it. And UBB code, I always like to call BB8 code.
Yeah, we always just called it BB. We never called it UBB.
Yeah.
But I guess that there was a different version of it, and that's why.
This is the universal BB code?
Right. And there is a handy little reference on geocaching.com, which is what I actually pulled some of this stuff from. So why don't I start with one of my favorites, which is the hyperlink. And this is what's actually generated by the @ symbol that we talked about earlier. If you do the @ and whatnot, it creates the hyperlink, which is that clickable link. So the way it works in your logs is you use the brackets to encapsulate the text, so what it's going to actually show. So it'd be the open bracket, whatever that link name is going to be, and then the close bracket. followed by the open paren, the actual URL, which is at HTTP or HTTPS link, and then the close bracket. So when that's done, and you should be able to see that in the video right over here if you're watching. Once that's done, you'll get a text link in your log. Now, of course, you don't get to preview this. You only get to do this in Markdown. And actually, if you're doing it on the web, you can scroll down to the bottom of the logging page, and you'll get a preview, so you can see what it is looking like. So if you're starting out with this, you might want to start doing some logs on the web to test it out. But it's really not that tough, as you'll probably learn going through this. Chris, you want to give us the next one, which is bold.
Bold. So if you want to bold a word, use two asterisks before and after that word. Now, Daryl, does this work for a phrase as well?
You can use multiple words. So
okay.
wherever you want to start the bold, you put the 2 stars, start typing, and then the 2 stars after. Now, I think the way that they're doing the context over at geocaching.com, it has to meet the text. So if it's just the 2 stars on its own, you'll get just 2 stars. But if it's, if there's a space, it renders as stars.
Asterisk, word, asterisk, asterisk, no spaces, either end of those asterisks. So, and, then it's bold. Now, if you want italics, you're going to use 1 asterisk in just the same format as the bold, but you're only going to use 1 instead of 2. So asterisk, text, asterisk. Look, it was the other side there.
It's a lot more difficult to do it this way than we expected.
It's funny because the video is always mirrored, but you don't think that throws you off as much as it does.
No. Now the nice thing is you do actually get to combine the 2, so you can do 3 asterisks to get the. I can't even get my finger over there right.
You use the other arm and reach across.
I know. The problem is the other arm doesn't really work that well from that side either. But you get the 3 asterisks on either side of the text. So 3 gives you the bold and the italics. So everything all in one.
So 2, 3, or I'm sorry, 1, 2, or 3, depending if you want italics, bold, or bold italics.
Yep. Nice and handy.
What if you want to do a quote?
Yeah, the quote is really fun. I don't think it really works so well in logs, though. Do you?
I wouldn't know why you would want to use a quote, to be honest.
I could actually see some reasons why you'd want to use a quote. So on its own line, you have to do the greater than symbol.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
No, we didn't. Yes, I totally forgot about this one.
That opens to the left.
Right.
Narrow at the right, open at the left.
And then you have to have the text off of that. So it's whatever text is on that line until the next return comes up as a quote. And it actually does it inset with a little bar. So that's what it looks like on geocaching.com.
I often see this in emails. If you're responding to an email, it will inset the response and put a bar there and then allow you to reply to it. So that'll give you that kind of look.
Sure. And I can see people using this for a lot of the like virtual caches and things like that, where you're telling more of a story, or like Where I Goes, where you're quoting something, or, that would be a nice one.
So, okay. So
before we move on though, Trexer asks, is this rich text used by other sites, or has this been crafted just for geocaching.com? Markdown is something that was developed years ago by the developer community, if I remember correctly. And I should probably look that up just to get the history for people.
So it's not just a price drop at your local big box store?
No.
Markdown?
No. And it was designed just to be a quick, easy editor to, so, do some basic bold text, do some italics, do some hyperlinks in a basic text editor, and then run it and show it. So people were starting to do this for code notes and stuff like that, and then it became more and more popular.
So next are headlines. This gives you, a bold text along with a larger font. And you've got 3 different headlines to choose from. Headline number 1 is the hashtag text hashtag. Again, that gives you bold and a larger font. Headline 2, surprisingly enough, 2 hashtags on either side. And you'll never guess how to get to headline 3. That's right. Hashtag, 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 your text, and then 3 other hashtags.
Sounds like someone who's really overzealous on Twitter or Facebook.
Yeah. You got to listen to me. Hashtag, hashtag, hashtag.
Yeah. And each one of these headlines renders a little differently on the different sites. Geocaching.com, I think it's 3, comes out in a different color as well.
Okay. And you do want that on its own line.
Yes, that has, and it's encapsulated again. So it's the hashtags on either side of the text that you want in that other format. And that's really all of the Markdown that's supported. There are some other tools in Markdown, including a horizontal rule, the unordered list, and an ordered list. And for people who don't know, unordered are like the bullets, and ordered are the numbers.
Right.
And guess what? Geocaching.com does not seem to recognize them, even though it's in that Markdown reference that they have.
Yeah. So interesting enough that, why it's common, it's not all uniform.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that even though Markdown is fairly standard, it is not a standard implementation.
Climax says headlines. That's what I get for my corduroy pillow. That Limax, that was worthy of me. I may use that some other time. Don't be surprised if you hear it from me again.
Oh, yeah. All right, you want to go through the smileys because this is the stuff that most people are probably going to actually want.
Okay, so these are going to use the square brackets on either side. So a regular smiley, a smile, is going to be a colon and a close parenthesis inside those square brackets. Wrong hand. As you see listed right here. The big smile, well, now if you look at the text, obviously you see the smiley on its side, but it's the hard bracket, colon, capital D. I'm sorry, I'm saying hard bracket, square bracket. See, Daryl, I can't even get the nomenclature straight.
Apparently not.
And I'm the one that said we should define the nomenclature so that other people can follow us.
Yeah. Hopefully people have a good idea of what we're talking about just from the pre-show. And in case we didn't make it clear before, this is not part of Markdown. This is specific to geocaching.com.
Oh, interesting.
And the graphics that they have are, in their arsenal. They're just, I want to say they're still GIFs that they pull up and drop in the logs.
Okay. Now you have the cool smiley. That's a smiley with the sunglasses. And that's going to be square bracket, the number 8 and a capital D followed by a square bracket. The blush is the square bracket, colon, the pipe symbol, the up and down.
The vertical bar.
There you go. Vertical bar. I wanted to do the up and down dash, followed by, again, another square bracket. And then you have the tongue sticking out smiley, which everybody loves. That's the square bracket, colon, capital P square bracket.
Yeah, one of the more common ones for sure. I think this actually goes back to the BB code.
It probably does.
And GSM times
have been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah. But GSM times 2 says that GSAC does have the built-in the Markdown built into the edit log page. And you'll also find some of the stuff in Cashly. They just started to implement it. It's not as easy as you might want it to be, but it is very nice. Because in Cashly, I've got over here at the side right now. Oops, wrong way. The way it looks in the template, but if it's in the log, it actually highlights that stuff in green so that you can tell that it's there. But things like the smileys do actually show up as options under the insert keywords. So that will save you a lot of time when you're logging. Check whatever app you're using, and it might have that stuff there.
Daryl, that's really good because the different apps have these different shortcuts built into them that may or may not be, one-to-one with what we're talking about that you can do on the geocaching.com website.
Let's move on to the next block of the smileys. And we're going to start with the evil smiley. This is a little devil guy. So you do the open bracket with the close curly bracket, colon, close paren, and then the close bracket. For the shocked, the funny guy on the website, at least, it's a purple dude with the giant O mouth. So it's the open bracket, colon, capital O, close bracket. Wink is the open bracket, semicolon, close paren, close bracket. Clown is the open bracket, colon, lowercase o, the close paren, and the close bracket. Then for the black eye, which is kind of an interesting one. Kept thinking about using that when I go through bushwhacking caches. The open bracket, capital B, the close paren, and the close bracket.
So those are there's still more sets of smileys because people want to use all these smileys.
Yeah, in all there's 20 of them.
Oh, somebody asked about the 8-ball. If you have a question, you ask the 8-ball. Hey, the 8-ball is still there. Square brackets with an 8 in the middle. The frown is the square bracket, colon, open parentheses, square bracket. The shy one is square bracket, number 8, close paren, close square. The angry, as maybe you put in your angry eyes if you're, going out as Mr. Potato Head. That is square bracket, colon, open paren, exclamation point, close square bracket. And the dead, that's the one with the X's over the eyes. That's square bracket, XX, open paren, square bracket.
You want to get that last batch?
I would love to. Sleepy. Now we're getting into all the dwarves. Maybe not all the dwarves. That is square bracket, vertical bar, close paren, square bracket. Kisses, which I think is interesting. I didn't think this should be this way, but what do I know? Is square bracket, colon, capital X, close square. Approve is square bracket, caret, close square bracket. The caret is the shift 6. Just verifying that on the keyboard. The disapprove, square bracket, capital V, square bracket. The capital V is the shift V on the keyboard. Sorry, I just threw that in there. I'm just trying to liven this up a little bit. And finally, the question, which is just a question in a circle mark. I'm sorry, a question mark in a circle. Oh, Daryl, I don't know if
It's
I'm going to make it
been
through.
too long a day.
I know.
That's all I have to say. It's been too long a day.
That's a square bracket, question mark, close square.
And the really good news is that's all of the talk we have about all of the punctuation marks and symbols and everything. So that's it. That's all there is to these logs. So personally, I use a lot of those links because I like to have the links because then people
Mhm.
can easily jump back and forth, especially to people that I'm out caching with. So I do a lot of those, and on Cachly, what I'll do is a little template for each of those people, since it doesn't have the option, at least yet, to do the insert the friends link. So I just go and pre-populate that, and then I can go and insert that stamp for each one, that template.
So, Daryl, how do you go get their links? I mean, if I look at somebody's profile online, it's a unique ID that, is 16, 18, 20 characters long. I don't know how long it is. That's
Well, it
really
does
hard to
change.
put. Okay. How do you do it? Because that's really hard to put in a log.
Well, but I do that in the template, so I don't have to keep doing that over and over.
No,
But
no,
I
but
go and
where do you go
pre-populate it.
get that code from to begin with?
I go to their profile on geocaching.com. And you can do that a few different ways depending on which app you're in, but you can always do it from the website if you want to do that. I also sometimes have done it from the computer where I go and cheat and put everything together and then copy and paste. So I'll
How do you
have
get
a
it from the
big,
computer to your phone?
oh, you can email it. I'm on an iPhone, so I can do it in Notes,
Mhm.
which is nice and handy. Remember Geosphere?
Yes.
They actually
Geosphere is
used to have a web server built into their app until Apple made them pull it. And you could actually go and do some of the logging from the computer on the phone itself. It was really weird.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. And I want to say that they had templates that you could do that way as well. So you could set up your templates from the computer by logging into your phone.
Wow. That would have been fun. I never tried that.
Yeah. But Apple made them pull it because Apple was getting tired of all of these apps that did
Mhm.
way more than it was supposed to do, according to the description.
I'm sorry, but Steve said no.
Basically, yes. I think that was when Steve might have still been around.
Yeah, that would be about the time that Geosphere was going.
Yeah. But
Hey,
in any case, I do like having those links in there. It does take some work to set up, but to me, it makes the logs so much better than not having those links.
so Daryl, I have been using this wrong. Let's just state there. Okay, so I just logged some caches this weekend. I went to the Going Ape event, and I wanted to tag somebody in the log. So I use the @ sign and what I know is their geocaching name. And you know what? That doesn't work.
No, not unless you're on the web, and you still have to be able to pick it from the list.
The list. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
just toss in an @ sign and hope for the best.
And I'll be honest, when I was trying it, doing the research and the screenshots for the show, it works, but all too often it would freak out on me. And it didn't matter which browser I was in, it just isn't working right. So this is one of those features that I worry is um, been ignored and doesn't necessarily stay
Ha-
current and functional.
Yeah, hasn't been updated with the current code of the website.
Yeah, so it just wasn't responding very well. So it is handy. Definitely give it a shot. But they've changed a lot of the back end for the friend stuff
Mhm.
to be what is it, GDPR? Is that the right
That's
group
the
of letters?
European.
The privacy
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. General personal data. No, that's not right.
Requirements.
Yeah, something like that. But whatever that code was, or not, I shouldn't say code, the law. Um,
Mhm.
it forced them to make some changes, and one of them was adding that toggle to basically to let people access your profile from their profile, and so I think that might be a factor as well. Is that just stuff isn't you know working quite like it used to, and causing some problems. But in any case, that web logging only does that one thing too, so you can't do other caches. One of the things I love to do is if I'm on like a geo tour or if I'm at an event or something like that, I will tag one of the or I'll tag the event itself, the main event or the Geo Tour, as, hey, I'm doing, I'm working on this tour, I'm doing this, and I put the link in there. And if you're going to a Geo Tour, it's the GT code, so cord.info/GT. If you're doing it for a cache, it's just cord.info/ and then the GC number.
Mm-hmm.
So those are really easy to work with. And if you're doing it from the website, you can actually do the copy right from the top. Same thing with TBs too. So you can always do a link to a TB.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm dropping my TB and put that in there, or I'm dipping this TB because it's for my dog that goes with me everywhere. So that's kind of some of the stuff that's nice to do in those logs, just to make it easier for people who might actually read them and want to go back to it. And how many people do you know who are just getting into caching who knew anything about the tours? So it's a great way for them to discover it.
There you go. You're right. Nicely done. So be friendly. And so does this code render properly in most of the geocaching apps?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why they switched to it, was because this code actually works right in everything. You have to drop the render engine in essentially, but they were having problems where like BB code wasn't rendering correctly on some things. The HTML wasn't rendering correctly on other things. So by switching to this, it's uniform and they don't have to worry about it.
Uniform and universal.
Right. Getting back to the web tagging, GSM times 2 said they just discovered that if someone is not allowing friend requests, you cannot use the @ to link to their name. Yeah.
Right.
Because that all goes back to privacy
it won't
rules.
pull up, right? Because they're not your friend if they're not allowed.
Well, and I think it even goes longer than that, where if they're not, or even if they are your friend, if they don't allow
but if they turned off,
the share, which is off by default.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to turn it on. Then you can't do that tagging. So kind of annoying. I totally get it. And it's the right move for sure. But how annoying. And I really kind of wish that they would have had something to let us know that you have to turn this on. Like when you log in,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't gone to that section, give us a little banner that says, do it.
I've only seen it from the apps. The apps are saying, hey,
in the website,
if you want to use this, you got to go turn this on. Oh, okay. Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, unfortunately it is.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it while we're talking here. Go ahead and babble about something if you like.
Okay, I would love to babble about something. So as Daryl said, it's a great idea to link to your the big event. So I just went to the Ape event. By the way, I sat right next to Nick from Cashly. And Nick's such a great guy. Cashly's a great program. You guys should go out there and get it if you're on iOS. If you're not on iOS, I'm sorry. It's a one-time purchase of $5. And this podcast is not sponsored by Cashly.
No, definitely not. Yeah, he's going to be on in a couple of weeks too.
Next week.
Oh, is it next week?
Yeah,
yes,
week.
It is next week. So yeah, he's going to be on next week, which is awesome.
So anyway, I was out at the Ape event, and it would have been a great idea to link that. Hey, I found caches nearby, and I always say I found caches when I was at the nearby event. Well, I should have linked the event. I should have said when I was at, this GC code event.
Okay, I think I found it.
It's under preferences, says Limax.
Yeah, I'm under settings here. Give me a second. I have to remember how to share my screen, because apparently it's been long enough that I don't really remember. So
you can share screen, or you can share an individual Chrome tab.
There we go. Yeah. Ooh, I like the Chrome tab because it gets rid of the title bar. So in settings, if you go to your authorizations, you can scroll down and there's a do not allow authorized developer applications to access my public profile information. I think that's the one you have to actually turn off to see it. And then below that is you have allow authorized developer applications to share your geocaching activity with your geocaching.com friends. So that one has to be on. So you
So
have
you
those
have one
two.
implicit yes and one implicit no.
Correct. So you can allow the apps to use your profile information without allowing them to access your public information.
Right.
So, or your friends and stuff. So that is actually requested in some of the apps. So when it tries to log in, you know, it will tell you, hey, you have to turn this on and send you there.
Exactly. And I'm sure I learned that from Cashly, which I hadn't known before. I think it was a Cashly update that told you, hey, go to this webpage and turn this on. Okay. I didn't even know that was an option.
So yeah, there's a little bit of extra bonus information in there. But yeah, getting back to the actual logs themselves, we'd love to hear what you're doing with it. But I do quite a bit of template logging in Cashly where I'll create that wildcard in Cashly that has or not wildcard. What do they call it?
Shortcut.
Yeah, no, I don't think they call it a shortcut either. But it's the mail merge kind of thing where it goes and drops the time in. So I do that, followed by, hey, I was out doing this, that, or the next thing. You know, I'm on this geo trail. I'm just out having, a day of caching. You know, I'm out doing some errands, and I have most of these pre-done, so it makes it nice and easy. Then in some cases, I'll have, we are the team of, whatever with links to each person in there. And then I just have that auto logging essentially where I'll go in and make my edits, like put a few sentences in sometimes about this, that, or the next thing. You know, maybe I drop something, maybe I do the, uh, you know, cache needs maintenance, whatever. But I go and edit that, but I have a basic template that I can use. And honestly, there's a lot of times where I don't do anything more than that template. But especially if I'm on like a geo tour or something like that, I do try to get a little bit in about that cache or the park or whatever. You know, give something a little bit nicer in there. But it makes it easy.
Cashly calls them keywords.
Keywords, that's what they call them. And you can do the same thing in like GSAC or any other number of apps will do it, like Geo Live. Cashly, actually, I think if you get into the automated logging, you can do the field notes from like your GPS with some search and replace. You know, put in some shortcuts that it then goes and replaces with the full thing.
Mm-hmm.
So nice, handy little tool for simplifying your logging life there. But, let us know what you're doing. GeoGearheads at cachemaniacs.com for the show in a couple of weeks, September 12th. So get it in by like the 10th. And let us know what you're doing with your logging, because all of this kind of stuff can give you some great tips that not necessarily you're going to learn something from, but that other person next to you who's listening is going to learn.
Exactly right. So, Daryl, we've talked about logging and we're at show 399. What are we doing for show 400?
Yeah, it's just going to be a regular, kind of like as usual show for 400. We're going to have Nick from Cashly on to talk about the current version of Cashly, which at least right now is Cashly 5.2. The week after, though, is going to be 401. And we're going to have some of our favorite folks back on to talk about Cache Tour. And this is going to be, our fourth show on that one?
Yeah, I was just at an event with Tom Frey.
Oh, there you go. So, we're hopefully going to get R. Reagan, and I can't remember if Tom's going to show up. I don't think so. And why can I not remember Wendy's name? But hopefully she'll show up. and she just did some big projects in cashtour.no. Well, hopefully we'll get her on to talk about those specifically later on. But right now we're kind of giving like hopefully a little bit of an overview and how to try to use those for the road trips, because that's what it really excels at.
Very nice.
Yeah, and we're going to have some of those road trips coming up probably for a lot of us and not so very long. But September 12th is that randomized show that I just talked about, episode 402. And then on September 19th, episode 403, Project -GC. Now that's one of the things. Do you pronounce the dash or not?
Well, especially when you're referring to the website as project-gc.com, I always throw the dash in there.
Yeah, and I usually don't say the dash, but for some reason I got stumbling on the dash mark. But yeah, we've got 3 excellent tools for geocaching in the next 4 weeks. So make sure to tune in for all those. Send in your feedback to geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com. It'll give us a couple of days to get those on the show, but we'd love getting all that feedback. Tips, tricks, questions, points of interest, praise for the developers. We love getting all of that. So make sure to send those into geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com.
And until then, make sure you check the Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads@cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umfenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. This show's copyright 2019 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.
Cash with the Cachemaniacs.